Hey guys, it's Jeff with PackGeek here. I am here with a very special guest today. This is Mike Becker. He's the owner of Playball Sports Cards in Arlington, Texas. And he's been kind enough to let us film some episodes here, so thank you for that, Mike.
Well, thank you. We really enjoyed having you in here. It's kind of nice to hear the conversations as you know you're having with the folks that you had earlier, and we just like to show off our place. We're very proud of this place.
So this is by far the biggest hobby shop I've ever been in. How many square feet is this place?
We're just under 6,000. We're at 5930, 5940, somewhere in there.
Oh my gosh. So let's talk a little bit about the layout. So you've got up here, you've got a lot of unopened boxes, and then you've got some cool memorabilia and jersey in the back and autographs. You have a bat wall that's just, is it all autograph bats?
Yes.
And then at the very back of the store, you have a stage. And what's the stage about?
Well, the stage was supposed to be a two-pronged event. One was we were going to do our breaks from there, in-store breaks. The breaks that we were going to do, COVID stopped. Obviously, we were just getting ready to roll that phase out. And with COVID, we couldn't do it, so that's something to come.
I was going to say, I hope it's not canceled forever and just postponed, because that sounds like a great event. Yeah. You can count me in on that event, too.
Definitely, we'd love to have you.
You said this is not your first location, so
you've
had shops other places. Can you tell us about those?
My first toe in the water was in the mid to late 80s in Indiana.
Okay.
And at that time, it was one of those things where I just enjoyed the hobby, and it seemed cool, and basically only on the weekends and evenings, because the fact that I still had a full-time job.
Right. Because
most of you know you can't, at least in those days, you couldn't make a living until a little bit after that. Yeah. And then we moved here in 1990. And in 92, I closed that shop because the person that I had given part ownership was stealing me blind, so I just so I closed everything down and moved here. And then back in about 2003, 2004, I started renting space from a person over here in the mall. It was the old Six Flags Mall, which is not here now. And did that for about 7 years. And we came down the building down to our west here, and most of the folks that come in here knew me from there. And when that went bankrupt, I had to find a place, and I still wasn't retired, but it accelerated my need to get in there. And so my wife and I have been doing this. We both retired last year, and it's kind of a labor of love for us.
Hey, I want to tell you guys about a new sponsor we have at the Bench Clear Sports Card Network. They're called StarStock. You can check them out at starstock.com. You can go to the site, you can sell, you can buy, you can collect, you can invest. It's really cool. I suggest getting in early. There's some great deals there. I've been selling Luka Doncic rookies. I've sold more than half of my inventory already. Check them out at starstock.com. Well, you guys have done an amazing job with the place. It's just so fun. It's nice and open. You know, a lot of card shops feel a little bit cramped because they aren't a very big space, but there's a lot of inventory in there. You definitely don't feel that way here at Playball. There's plenty of walking space. You said you guys on Fridays and Saturdays you have a ton of traffic in here, so you've been extra busy. I wanted to ask you, because you said you actually had a card shop during the first heyday of sports cards from the mid-80s. Of it, from mid-80s until the late 80s. Right. And well, we're kind of going through another renaissance with the hobby right now. So which would you say was crazier, having a card shop back in the 80s, the late 80s, or now?
By far this right now.
No kidding.
What was different was that wax was cheap. You know, you could buy a box of wax for $16 to $20.
Right.
Until '89, when Upper Deck came out, and then decided, man, we can get $1 a pack for this stuff, because they had the shiny new photo, not the coarse paper that you got from Topps. And everybody wanted it, everybody loved it, and that really pushed it even further. But again, you're talking about a box of cards that you could still get for under $50. Now, with all of this that's going on, the blaster boxes that you can buy for $19.99 at Walmart if you can find them, which you can't anymore, unless you're the first person in there and you grab them all and then you're selling them on eBay, or we have people bring them in here and sell them to us. And you know, now the 19 Prism is over $200 for a $19 box. We've got some 2015, 2016, 2018 tops with their updates. And those things are $19 boxes, and they're selling for close to $100. So it's really changed, and I think a lot of it is the international market has driven the prices up so high. The stock market has been so quirky. A lot of people that were invested in the stock market pulled a bunch of money out because of the uncertainty, and they're throwing money into this thing. And not to name anybody, but there are several people out there that are pumping money into this that people well know their names, and everybody's following them, you know, just as they follow you, and they're coming in here. Hey, I just heard so and so said, oh, I got to have one of those kind of thing. And so that's
for the
driving
record,
it.
Don't take any financial advice from me.
Yeah, or me. But you know, the market is, and then grading is the other thing. See, grading was in its infancy in the late 80s, and I still can't recall if it's 88 or 89 when PSA started. And they were grading vintage. They weren't grading anything new, and nor would it have made sense in that time. And there were a lot of people that felt at that time that grading cards would happen like coins. When they started grading coins, that hobby went downhill.
Right.
It's now since recovered, but people felt the same thing would happen with cards. So there were a lot of people who weren't getting things graded. And then in the late 90s, Becker opened, and of course, that was people that wanted the newer and cards, and so they were kind of separate companies from a perspective. Becker did new stuff, and the other stuff was done by PSA. Well, what's happened now is that's crossed over, and they both do vintage. They both do modern. The difference being is that the values of that graded card now are so much more than they would have been in the past, where you might have been, you know, maybe 200%, 300% more. Today, you're talking about a 10-cent card that could very well be worth $100 if you grade it and you get a 10 out of it. So a lot of people are pulling out old stuff. I mean, I kind of laughed the other day when we were talking about Sammy Sosa. You know, you couldn't give his cards away. Now the McGuire and Sosa TV deal, documentary with the home run thing. Now the Sosa cards, while not the raw cards have moved up much, but the graded cards have. And his Leaf now is running in $80 to $100 as a PSA 10. And so McGuire's the same way. I mean, there's so many 87 Donruss McGuire's. I mean, there's probably still tons of cases that have never been opened.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
And you're talking about PSA 10s are going for well over $100, you know, for a card that we couldn't sell for $3.
Well, you know, the first set, the audience has heard me talk about this ad nauseum, but I'll tell you because I haven't told you. The first set I ever collected was 1985 Topps baseball, and you know the McGuire USA card, and that was when he started doing great in the late 80s. That card took off, but you know, after the steroid incidents and all that whole issue, that card took a big hit.
Yes, it did.
And it stayed kind of low for a while. Well, it's gone up. Now it's over $2,000 for a PSA 10.
Right.
And that card, you know, you could have got a PSA 10 for $200 probably a year ago. So it speaks to the power of the media, and especially these sports documentaries, like the Jordan documentary.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been crazy how much The Last Dance has helped the basketball market.
Right.
Not only Jordan's, but all those Jordan era players.
Pippen and Rodman cards have just gone stupid, and you know, as well.
Exactly. Well, and I like collecting Barkley, and Barkley saw a bump too, just because he was around those guys, you know. Right. But it's fun to see. So, are you a collector, or were you ever a collector?
Yeah, I was. I actually started in 1958.
Really?
And, the Dodgers. We lived in California at the time, and the Dodgers moved to LA in '58. And my dad took me to the very first game played at the Coliseum.
You're kidding.
And it was an exhibition game against the Yankees. And my dad comes home and says, "You want to go to the ball game?" So yeah. So I said, "Can we still get tickets?" You know, at the time I was 10 years old. I said, "Can we?" Or I'm 9 years old, and says, "Can we get tickets?" He said, "Oh, that place is so big, it shouldn't be a problem. Standing room only." And it was just amazing. As a kid, I was just, you know, and from that we started collecting Dodger cards, of course, collecting everybody else. And then in '59, I actually completed my very first set. I completed the '59 set, and it was always difficult to do that in those years because of the fact that the last set was always out after the baseball season was over. So most stores would not replenish it. Well, in those days, we had small little stores, kind of like 7-Elevens, but
when
they
you
were
say
mom
set,
and
are you
pop.
talking about series?
Yeah, they came out in series.
Right.
And the last series would always come out late, and that's why you saw a lot of short prints. And so what happened was the guy that owned this little grocery store, I said, "Look," you know, because I've been buying all the time, and I said, "Look, if you'll bring those into the store, I can't buy them all at once. Nickel a pack, right?
Yeah.
I can't buy them all at once.
Oh my gosh.
$1.20 a box, but I couldn't buy them all at once. So my dad would always give me a quarter whenever I'd run to the store for him, so I'd always buy 5 packs of cards when I did it. So that's how I got started, and I was really intent on doing that '59, and we had friends that traded in those days. It wasn't about value. There was no value. There were no card stores. There were nothing like that, like there is today.
But without hobby stores, without eBay, without access to all this stuff, it was hard to track down cards you needed.
It was.
You know, you had to literally know somebody with that card.
It was.
I think a lot of people that were were always collectors or came back to collecting. When they found eBay, they went through and bought the cards they couldn't find as a kid. I mean, I know I did. It was a matter of I couldn't find them or I just couldn't afford them. That was probably more the case. But as an adult, it was really fun to be able to go through and, you know, essentially find any card you want. Of course, I would rather come to a shop and find, and you've got great prices here too. So, but the game has definitely changed since I was little, where it was, you know, sometimes you'd have to wait for a card show to come through town to find some of the hard to get stuff. And you would definitely see cards you've never seen in person before. Now you have access to everything, at least a picture of everything. You know, sometimes I remember when I was little, I didn't even know what some cards looked like because I'd never actually seen a picture of them before. So that's
well, I
pretty
can remember
amazing.
in 1990 when Donruss came out with the first numbered cards.
Yeah.
And they were numbered to 10,000.
Are those the elites?
Yeah, they were numbered to 10,000, except for the Ryan, which was autoed, was 5,000. And when we had our store in Indiana, we would open 6 cases of every product that came out.
No kidding.
And
Just
we would
fill
build
sets.
sets.
Okay.
Because the only sets you could get were tops.
Sure.
So, and then Donruss started making theirs. But we do that, and we opened that 6 cases, and we pulled one card. It was a Will Clark, numbered to 10,000 out of 6 cases, and those were 36 packs in a box. And
it's a lot of cards.
You should have known then, you know, man, this stuff's way overproduced, right? If you can't out of that today, you open a case of cards, you get numbers of 25 to 10 to 5, all that kind of stuff, you know. So a little bit different, but some of that is because they have variations of cards today, and they have different, like Topps has probably 20 different products or 30 different products. Panini for each sport has about that same thing. So it's not like 4 companies with 4 products inundating you with millions and millions and millions of those cards. They're spread them over in different designs and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's keeping the hobby healthy for that very reason, and hopefully with this big boost that we're having, that they keep focused on the fact we need production where it is. We don't need to increase production, because the more it's sought after, the more they can sell, and the more it's sought after, the more we can sell. And it helps people's collections have some value, where folks, I hate it, they come in here to the store and they want to sell stuff, and you look at the stuff, and honestly the binder and pages are worth more than some of the cards are. And people just get, you know, just white faces, like, really, we were going to pay for our kids' college.
It is heartbreaking. I have, because I'm, you know, my age and still a collector, I have a lot of friends who don't collect anymore, but they collect as a kid. So, you know, every year I get text messages from a couple of different friends, and they're like, hey, I found my cards. Here are the pictures, like, what do you think? And it's almost always 1988 Donruss or something where you're like, they made billions of those cards, and I hate to tell you this, but they're worth more in nostalgia than they are in monetary value. So hang on to them, give them to your kids or something, but you know, they probably aren't. You aren't going to be able to buy your wife dinner with those cards, unfortunately.
Although there are some cards.
There are some exceptions.
That it jumps right. Obviously, the Jordan jumps right off.
Will you tell the story about the '86 Fleer?
Yeah, I had a store in, like I say, in central Indiana, and my family lived in southern Indiana, and we'd go down there, and there's a guy that had a shop there, and I'd always go in and say hi, and he was up there, he'd come in, and we'd buy stuff from each other from time to time. And so what happened was, at Christmas that year of '86, we're down there for Christmas. I go into his shop, and he's got this big table out in the middle of the store with 100 sets of 1986-87 Fleer basketball sets, complete sets.
Oh my gosh! Just all prepackaged, or how were they?
He had taken them and put them in the small little boxes.
Okay, gotcha,
for 100 count boxes.
Yeah.
$7.50.
Oh my gosh!
$7.50.
We could both retire right now.
Yeah.
Off of buying all of those.
Exactly. He had taken a case, opened it up, and he came out with 100 sets. And so I bought 10 of them and took them back to my shop because I knew that, you know, I would need them for basketball season and all that stuff. And
so you didn't have any '86 Fleer?
No,
at the time
we couldn't find it.
Okay.
My understanding was that in California and some of the other places, they had end caps in Costco and places like that were just wall to ceiling with it, and most of them got returned to Fleer because people didn't sell. So, you know, it's like, okay, I'll have these because my customers like basketball. Indiana's kind of like Texas is with football. That's the way Indiana was with basketball.
Absolutely.
So I needed them, so I bought them. So the very first set I bought at the start of the season was $100. So I'd already paid for all the boxes. And as time went along, that year Jordan got up to $100, got up to $200.
We should stop to just make sure people understand what we're talking about. He bought 10 sets of '86-'87 Fleer basketball for essentially $75.
Right.
Brand new cards, case fresh.
Yeah. And who knew anything about grading in those days? It wasn't there.
You're right.
Yeah. So it wasn't like, well, okay, well, we're going to go grade Jordans. Well, although Jordan was popular, this is a basketball, capital of the world. People say Indiana, and nobody was buying them.
I passed some myself.
Yeah, because basketball hadn't been made. I mean, basketball hadn't been made by several years per tops. The last set that they made, they actually did it regional, hoping that if they made for the region, just the teams that were in that region, they could sell more.
Yeah, because they were East and West version of that. I remember that. Yeah.
And even that didn't help. So they quit making it. Fleer took a leap and made them, and they didn't sell many of them to begin with. But obviously, since then, it's gone on. Of course, the international market after the Dream Team has driven the international just crazy about basketball because they finally saw what basketball should be.
Right.
And, ever since then, now Americans have jumped on the bandwagon with the international market leading the way it was. And now I've got collectors that come in here all the time, baseball or football. Now they're all basketball collectors because that's where the value is right now for them.
It's crazy to see one market in particular explode so much within the hobby as basketball has. But I think you're right. It's almost all fueled from that international market, giving it that boost and just that I mean, I keep on hearing stories about what people are paying overseas for products we have around here on a regular basis.
Yeah, there are products that they can't get overseas that we get here. And there's product that's made over there, especially in China. There's product that's made that we get here because of the way the marketplace is today.
Right.
And they don't get it direct, so they have to buy it from somebody else here in the country. So some distributors may sell to them. Shops may sell to them. So that's how they get them. I've heard tales of guys saying, I'll give you 10 cases of Flawless for 10 cases of Donruss. I just need, because I can't get Donruss.
I get Flawless. That deal,
I get Flawless all I want.
Deal's on the table.
So,
oh my gosh.
Because they can get that, they can't get something else. So they would be willing to upgrade the trade just so that they can get what they need because they can't get it because the other stuff they're flooded with.
And they're trying to diversify their inventory. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Well, so what? other than basketball, are you seeing any other sports? What about soccer? Is soccer heated up a little bit?
It's funny. We'd never done much with soccer. We started ordering it just because we wanted to make sure we had everything. Just as you see the Pokemon behind us here, we brought it in not because we know anything about it, but because of the fact that people bring their kids in. We have, we have the room for the kids back there, and we have arcade games in here for kids, the middle-aged kids. So they bring the kids in with them, and that's what the kids buy, and so we have it for them. But soccer was another thing. We'd have, we didn't have any singles or anything. We finally got some, but to give you an example, Chronicles came in 3 weeks ago, I think it was, sold it out same day. The following week we got the Topps Chrome came in, we sold it all out in the same day. People, and I couldn't believe it because, we'd never sold soccer before. Yeah. But again, it's this international market that's just driving this again. Right. And obviously soccer's king in the world, except here in the U.S. Our kids play it and the kids love it, but we don't watch it on TV, and we don't go to it too much as a whole in general terms. So now we've got people collecting soccer that never collected soccer before.
For the longest time, I got to tell you, I would go into a Target or a Walmart, push all the soccer aside or the NASCAR aside, and look for the other sports I'm looking for. Now, people are going there just for the soccer box. It's so crazy, especially like Prism Soccer.
Yeah, right now, try to find Chronicle Soccer at any store. There are people buying it. Every box that's out there, they grab them all up and they take them because
of course, it's just like basketball. It's just like Prism basketball. It's so wild. Well, so if you had to say Playball Sports Cards specializes in something in particular, what would you say you guys do exceptionally well here?
Customer service.
Customer service, okay.
Check out our Facebook page. You'll find that we're a family store, and we're family owned. The people that work here, we ensure that they pay attention to our customers. When they walk in the doors, there's always somebody saying hi. When they're leaving, there's already saying goodbye. Come back and see us.
I can attest to that.
We just really focus on that, but we're also really pretty much a full-service store. The only thing we don't do is we do not sell on eBay. As a store, we don't, and we don't do it for our customers. What we do, though, is we offer framing for people, so we sell memorabilia, so it needs framing, and you've seen the walls and stuff. We have some really nice framing at very reasonable prices, and then we have memorabilia all over the place, pictures, binders of pictures all over the place, and baseballs and footballs and helmets. We've got all that, and we're heavy into integrated cards. We have a display case that's for basketball. We have one for vintage. We have one for football. We have one for vintage football. We have one for hockey. Everything's exploding, it seems like, at one time. And I think part of that goes back to all these kids have been groomed since they were 4 or 5 years old to be a professional.
You're right.
There are people that spend tons of money every year using ex-professionals, going to them for hitting practice, going to them for pitching practice, soccer, whatever it is, football, whatever those sports are that they're in. And they are hoping that they're going to catch lightning in a bottle for their kids.
Tell you what, can you imagine if when you were little, playing like Little League Baseball or whatever you did when you were of Little League Baseball age, if somebody said, down the street there's a professional baseball player that's teaching kids your age to hit. Like right now, I would have done anything to get in on that. And
not even just the instruction, just to meet the guy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was so different then. Today, and some of it is our own faults, is we've created this atmosphere where players don't want to interact with us because they're pushing down children to get to an autograph, and they're elbowing people and knocking them down because they want an autograph to sell.
Right.
And players are very turned off by it. And matter of fact, Mike Trout has gotten to the point that he refuses almost to sign anything except for kids or private signings that he does. When I was a kid, we never even thought about having our cards signed. To us, cards are collectible. We weren't going to write on them or something. Today, they take cards, they take baseballs. We didn't have access to baseballs like they do today.
No.
You know, you couldn't go to the sporting goods store and buy you a ball or a dozen balls
or
or whatever.
Major League ball,
exactly. You know, you see a lot of those old Spalding balls that kids played with or whatever is what they got signed if they did.
Sure, yeah.
But we had scrapbooks. And we'd get our, I guess as a kid, I must have had a scrapbook with 80, 90 autographs in
Like
it.
a 3x5 card?
No, they were actually
by-
paper you could get, they were all attached in there and they were on.
Oh,
and they
okay,
were
gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And, you know, it's like, today, I mean, it's not about the collecting for most people, it's about the money. And that's really destroyed it, I think, for a lot of folks. And from my age, it's not collecting for collecting's sake anymore. You know, I think there's too much money now for it just to be that. And I think people have a lot of pride in the fact that, gee, look what I have.
Sure.
You know, I've got a PSA 10 Trout auto rookie, you know, that kind of stuff. And
I can post that on my Instagram.
Exactly. And I think that's a lot of it now. Before we shared what we had with people because we loved the sport, we liked the sport, we loved collecting, and wanted to share that with people.
So, having done this for a few different decades, what is the craziest experience you've had with a collector in one of your stores?
Well, I would say probably this year, we actually had 2 episodes this year where we were fortunate enough. We had a collector pull a disco out of Fast Break of Zion numbered to 5.
Oh my gosh.
And got it graded, came back as a 9.5, a quad 9.5.
Oh man.
And he was able to get an offer for $45,000. Well, this guy, though, is a collector. And he's not selling it. I mean, these are one of the true guys. He's never sold a card.
Good for him.
And he hangs on to his cards. and so that one. And then we also had an RPA of Zion number to 5 pulled out. And that one had
What
some
product
damage
was that?
to the back. It was
National Treasures?
no, it was Crown Royal.
Okay.
And it was numbered to 5. Those are exciting when you see that. But the other thing is, you know, it's really thrilling to me is we had a kid pull a Lou Gehrig art card, 101. You know, and you get those, and a kid gets those, and you just get so excited for the kid. You know, I mean, you know, because when we think of people, of course, everybody's a kid to me at my age these days, but. You know, when you see adults pull those things and they're not outwardly as demonstrative as a young kid, you know, he's all excited and he's jumping around and hollering, you know, that kind of stuff, and that's always fun. So we've had some kids pull some really sweet stuff. We had a Trout 101 pulled out by a kid, and so those are the fun things when you see a kid pull something like that.
As you've touched on, kids are definitely the future of the hobby. What can we as a hobby, as a community, do to encourage kids to get more involved in sports cards, and the ones who are already involved to stay involved with sports cards?
It's a tough question because the only thing I see is the price of cards continuing to go up. I mean, Topps has already raised their prices. Panini's announced they're raising their prices. And I understand, you know, that has to happen, you know, over time, you know, because the costs go up, labor goes up. I understand all that. It makes it tough for kids. It really does. And I'd like to see them do more with lower end product. Now, they may not sell as much of it, but in those lower end products, and some of them are starting to do that. Topps has a couple of products now that they have that's that way. Panini has 1 or 2 as well. But it's just baseball. It's not any other sport. And the kids, if they love football or something, they need that lower end entry for a kid. And get the excitement of pulling an auto of a Trout, you know, out of there. And it's you hate to waste a Trout valued card like that, but if you can put it in a low end product like that, then that's great. And I can tell you that Panini did that, which really shocked me with Prestige. Prestige retail only. And a customer of ours out of a blaster box at Walmart pulled a Tom Brady auto out of it.
Wow.
So in that case they did, and they just need to do more of that where the kids can have that opportunity, as long as people don't continue to grab everything and go sell it. And that's the problem that you face today. And I'll admit I'm part of that problem, in that, not that I go buy it and grab it, but people that do bring it into the store, and I do buy it from them. So it's just one of those things where, given the opportunity, if we could have it in the store here for them, then it makes it a little bit different. If they can get in that $30 to $40 price range, $60 at the most, kids can save their allowances and stuff like that and do that. We have a lot of kids that their birthday, they always come in after their birthday, they always come in after Christmas because they've got some money from grandma and grandpa and everybody else.
Of course.
And so they come in here and they spend it on cards. And at that time, they're really able to buy something that's a higher price for them. And for them, that's real exciting to be able to do that. And because normally they can't afford them that way.
Well, Mike, you are a wonderful asset for us to have within the hobby. And thank you for all that you're doing here at the shop, here at Playball Sports Cards in Arlington, Texas. And just everything you're doing for your customers. It's amazing. And even for us, you're so welcoming, and we really appreciate you and your wife, Rita, for letting us come in.
It's been a real pleasure for us. As you know, we're normally closed on Monday and Tuesday.
Yes.
And when you first came to us about it, I mean, I never hesitated. I said, absolutely.
You didn't.
Because it's, to me, it's part of the hobby, what you do. And what you do expands that hobby outside. People watch your YouTube channel and they say, oh wow, this is some exciting stuff. And even today, when you were opening some of the lower product from years ago, I mean, there's some of those cards that Barry Sanders, for example. I mean, if it's a 10, then you've got some money out of that stuff.
Yeah.
So there is some hope in that lower stuff for kids today, that's still
those
out there.
Those boxes were $25 too.
Yeah. So, that's the thing, and we just really, you guys have been very polite and respectful. We appreciate that, and anytime you need us, just give us a call.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it. There you have it. What's the Facebook? So
it's Playball Sports Cards and Memorabilia, and it's all separated words. That's our Facebook page.
And it's a Facebook group. You can see lots of pictures of the store there. You can interact with customers there, and you will eventually be able to see this episode there. So hope you guys are well, and thanks for tuning in. See you later.
Thanks, folks.
We've gotten some questions online about bench clear, just kind of where we're coming from, the general direction of the network, why we're doing a network, stuff like that. But I thought it would be fun if we answered just some of the questions we've got online for an episode. And then maybe we'll open some cards.
That's why I'm really here.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out another episode of PackGeek. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks. PackGeek.